mean to do the right thing? We often think that the line between right and wrong is clear, but in reality, there is no line. And even if there is, it's blurry. It's kind of like an abstract painting that everyone pretends to see a meaning behind, but deep down they're just confused. To clear up some of this confusion, let me firstly differentiate between ethics and moral. Ethics are the philosophical center that helps society define good and evil. They're very general, meaning we can agree on them as a whole, or can be. Morals, on the other hand, are very personal. They're influenced by factors such as cultural background, the environment someone is raised in, or religion. Knowing that, imagine this. You're standing next to a pair of tracks. Down the tracks, a trolley car is speeding down at 100 kilometers per hour. At the end of the tracks, there are 5 people tied to the ground. They cannot move out of the way, meaning the trolley will crash into them and inevitably kill them if you don't act now. As you look around in panic, you find something in front of you, and this something has the power to change everything. It is a lever. Should you pull this lever, you will redirect the trolley next to another track, at the end of which there's one person. Now, this problem is called the trolley dilemma. We all know it, we all probably dread it, and it's been done a million times, so please bear with me. What would you do? Would you pull the lever and kill one person instead of 5? If you would, please raise your hand now. Thank you. Please put down your hands. Let me ask you another question. This time, you're still standing next to the tracks. The trolley car is still speeding at 100 kilometers per hour, and the people are still tied to the ground, meaning they'll die. As you look around this time, you see quite a horizontally big man next to you. This man's size alone is enough to stop the trolley car should you push him on the tracks. Think again, realistically, if you were in this situation, would your reaction be to push the man? If you would, please raise your hand. Thank you. As expected, less people raised their hands the second time. And only by altering this small detail, we've changed the situation completely. We now feel more evil for killing one person instead of 5, even though the options are still the same. Interfere, kill one person, or don't, and kill 5. But what about this really changes our perspective? It's the focus that we shift from the simple act of pulling a lever to physically pushing someone into death. But why am I even bringing this up? It's to show you that morals, that often seem as simple as good or bad, can completely vary and change depending on the situation they're in. For example, I eat meat, but I would personally be bad for killing an animal with myself, so I pay someone else to do it. And then technically it's not my fault, right? Wrong, but that's how our brains work. In other words, the further a choice is from our responsibility, the easier it becomes to make. To link us back to tonight's theme, these invisible powers, morals, seem to have a chokehold on us, and although we cannot see them, we all seem to have them. On a simple level, ethics is a part of philosophy, the study of right and wrong. But on our way to determine whether something is ethically correct or not, we often find ourselves sacrificing and changing our morals depending on the situation. As for example, in the trolley problem. Generally, running someone over is never good. But if it is to prevent more deaths, it becomes morally okay. The fact alone that we have a sense of right and wrong is enough to always opt for the right option. Or so this quote by Nietzsche suggests. Morality is the herd instinct of the individual. What he means by this is that it lies in our nature to differentiate between good, evil, and everything in between. Now, let's look at this from a neurobiological perspective. When we look at the human brain, something extraordinary can be found. A very large prefrontal cortex, also called frontal lobe. It's the part of your brain right behind your forehead, right around here, and it's arguably what makes us humans. The frontal lobe, it enables us to step back from our instincts, to apply logic to our daily lives, and predict consequences, and also make our choices according to these. For some comparison, here's a dog brain, and as you can see, the prefrontal cortex is much smaller, which is also reflected in their behavior, meaning it takes hours and hours of training for them to be able to resist their instincts. So, human, Homo sapiens, seems to be equipped with a unique feature. The ability to think in shades of gray and nuances rather than just black and white. But if we all have the same kind of biology, then how come we have such different morals? How come we disagree on so many things? It's because our brains are impressionable, and they're trained and designed to recognize patterns and also internalize them. This is why trauma exists, and this is also why the environment that someone is in has such a big impact on how they come out as a person. Guaranteed, no matter what one person says, there will always be another to disagree with that. But there are some ethical baselines that we've agreed on as a society and eventually made laws. The most common example of this is the fact that murder is a felony. Should someone kill another person, the guilty person must be sent to jail for 10 to 20 years, if not longer. But if murder is done as an act of self-defense, the guilty person is not sent to jail at all. So what does this show us? It shows us that the context behind something is absolutely essential to the morality behind it. However, even what we think is our foundation as a society, laws, are sometimes flawed and paradox. For example, in Austria, animal cruelty is strictly forbidden. Harming animals purposely is forbidden, and you will either be fined or even sent to jail should you do it. But factory farming, under inhumane conditions where animals suffer purposefully, is not forbidden. So that's clearly paradox. This shows us that everything, even laws, needs constant reevaluation to make sure it still aligns with its context. And this, at its core, is ethics. But who even decides what is right or wrong? For example, cannibals don't find it morally wrong to eat human flesh. But this is an absolutely absurd idea to us that we would never want to engage in or be associated with. Which brings us to the question, are we allowed to interfere with cannibalism to stop human death, like in the trolley problem, if possible? The answer that came to mind is probably yes, and quite obviously so, but it's hard to say whether that is because it's genuinely what is right, or because it's just the way we were raised. I would like to get across one more time why all of this is so significant. Philosophy, and therefore ethics, which is a part of that, unsettles us, not by introducing us to the new, but by confronting us with what we push aside and what we choose to ignore. By becoming aware of our own wrong, and not allowing that to change us, not allowing that to make us another person, to make us a better person. Through that, we bear the responsibility of being wrong, because we're kind of stripped of any excuse to still keep doing that thing. I did not come here with the intention to change anyone's behavior, because that realistically depends on you, but to rather make you uncomfortable. In fact, I stand on the stage to allow for ethics to make you a worse person before it makes you a better. To make you uncomfortable before it makes you genuine and aligned with your morals. Because only through this discomfort we can learn and be a better person. Also, by becoming aware that even the core of our humanity isn't really what it seems to be, We kind of cleanse our palate and we get a fresh start into being a person. My aim is to remind you of what you already know. You always have a choice, and it's up to you how you make it. Thank you.